up, everyone? Welcome to Fourth and Fantasy. Injuries are the hardest part of the game to predict, but tonight we're taking the guesswork out of it. We're joined by Ben McCown, Doctor of Physical Therapy from Dynasty Gambit, and Devy Dojo for the premiere of our new series, Ice Up, Volume 1. And we're talking pass catchers, baby. We're breaking down the medical outlooks for the biggest pass catchers heading into 2026. Are these injured stars damaged goods or massive values? The doctor is in. Let's find out.
Yeah, I don't follow no script. I make my own lane, got a spreadsheet mind and a red brass brain. Dynasty beats got that tape in my veins while they drafting by names. I'm exposing their game, no cap. We study the craft like film room rats. Gyms in the fourth while they stuck in the past. It's levels to the dynasty, keep or flex. From rookies to pros, we demand and respect. That's real. And I ain't never need clout for my clout to show. Just a mic I take and a team I grow. This ain't just picks, it's principle G. It's fourth and fantasy where you build your legacy.
Hey, whoa, hold on now.
Whoa, what?
Whoa.
Uh-oh. Abort!
That's
Abort!
Yeah, I got to remove.
We got this shit over.
Guest on?
The hell is going? There we go.
Is Chef joining us?
All right. Come on,
surprise guest out here.
come on, Ben. Come sandwich us.
There we
There
go.
we go. All right.
Like I said, we are kicking off our short series, but I'm actually pretty excited about this one because we got one of the great guys in our community that we can go to when any type of these bad injuries, good injuries, small injuries, hell, a headache, we're going to Ben about. Ben, how we feeling tonight, my guy?
You know, I just have to say thank you for the intro on that Huncho. And 2025 was a fun season, man, in regards to just fantasy. But, you know, and I hate to be up on my stuff throughout the season because it means that somebody got hurt. But at the same time, I'm here to provide you guys with some of the best information as I can when I know it as soon as possible.
Hell yeah. And if you didn't know, I'm Huncho, and all the way to my left or right, depending on how you're viewing us right now, that is my guy.
Yeah, the 50% chance of being right. Siriaco, y'all can call me Rocco.
And we are your fantasy playbook to more championship wins. But right now in the off season, going into the rookie draft season, and Rocco, what and where are we the land of?
We are a fantasy football podcast for Dynasty Sickos by Dynasty Sickos. Everybody's welcome.
Yeah, everybody is welcome. And we're still trying to enjoy these college football playoffs, and we're still working through the NFL playoffs as it is. I'm hip hooray as a Dallas Cowboys fan, as you're all seeing right now. And shout out to that league champ, because I'm wearing my league champ jersey that I won, George Pickens. We got our guy over there, Rocco, rocking his league champ one jersey. And if I'm correct, Big Ben, did you already have that one, or did you win that one through league champ?
Yeah, so Addy and I, man, we've been fighting back and forth at NFL.com because they have been sold out of the JSN jerseys.
I'm telling you,
weeks now, man.
I'm telling you, I had to wait for my bad boy.
That's where I'm at. I love that jersey though. That is so clean.
Yeah, I love the blue jerseys. I already have a white one, so I had to come out with the blue on that, the navy blue as it is. But shout out to the league champ.
It's been a long time since I won a jersey. I mean, I did win $50 last week, but it's been a long time since I won a jersey. I need to get back into that winning circle so I can feel something.
You saying you got that itch, Rocco?
What's that?
You saying you got that itch?
Yeah. I mean, $50 is nice, but, you know, not having to buy my own jersey and just having it shipped to my house, that's better. I mean, that $50 is going to be absorbed into league safe, and I'll never see it again anyway.
Well, we're talking about players that need to ice up, feel better for our fantasy teams, because some of these guys, when they went down, very much hurt us, especially Tucker Kraft, Malik Nabers early on in the season had people pissed. I was one of them, had them in a couple of paid leagues that I have. But some people have already been capitalizing on acquiring Malik Nabers, aren't down on him, still believe in the young talent, and they just got a new coach in John Harbaugh. But hold on, let's get through the chats real quick. We got we got wonderful folks in that house. First off, Deku, Devy Sensei from Devy Dojo's in the crib. What's happening to you? Jamie, what's up, my dudes? What's up back to you? Happy Thursday. Hope y'all doing well. And then we have Chev in the cribbo. Let's fucking go, boys. You goddamn right. Chev's in the house. Let's start off with one of the guys that's in the thumbnail. Let's start off with Mr. Malik Nabers himself, as he went down early in the year. Speak a little bit on his full-on injury details, Ben. I know he had an ACL. I believe he also had some other ligament damage going on in there.
Yeah.
How should we be viewing Malik Nabers as 2026?
So, yeah, initially we thought it was just an ACL tear that led to a reconstruction a month later in October. And we ended up finding out that he ended up actually also tearing his meniscus. And that when that repair happens, that adds an additional 4 to 6 weeks after surgery of non-weight bearing, right? That person's foot or that athlete's foot cannot touch the ground or put weight through until 4 to 6 weeks after the surgery. And so, we're about 10 or 11 weeks after Malik Nabers had his surgery, and there were some reports going around online that Malik Nabers was walking around the field with a cane, and so people were worried: is he going to be back in time, or is this going to mean we're going to be missing Malik Nabers for a good portion of the season? And for me, when you take into consideration that he did have the meniscus repair, that does kind of speak to a little bit of a longer timeline. To be able to ramp up and get back. And so for me, I see it being more of, him probably being put on the pup for at least the first part of the season, but I don't expect him missing more than possibly past week 5 or 6. I think at this point, we're going to overblow a situation that really isn't that big of a deal when you look back at the history of what's going on, because I saw PTs online going on and saying, this is scary. This is way worse than what we initially thought. But I think you honestly should feel good about your Malik Nabers shares. He's going to be just fine.
I mean, hey, I haven't personally went out my way to acquire me some Malik Nabers. I know my good boy over there, Rocco, has though acquired him some Malik Nabers. How, Rocco, speak on it a little bit, as someone who has tried or who has decided to buy on the dip per se, because I don't think he's going to have a lower value than what he does now.
I feel like I've sold more Malik Nabers than I actually bought. I sold Malik Nabers and like a second round pick for Amon-Ra St. Brown. What turned out to be an awesome trade for myself. I traded
you got JSN,
right? And Tyler Algier, 2026 free agent who could land, nicely. Hopefully, I put him as a add-in, as a throw-in to so many trades, with the anticipation that he would get, a chance to get a little more opportunity than he's going to get from Bijan. But I did recently make a trade for Nabers, and what I traded was Chris Olave, which kind of sad that I traded him away, because that's my only share, and all he's done is increase in value since I traded him away, and 2 super duper Devy depleted first. So I like that trade. I feel like he can be a top 5, top 4 wide receiver in the league, but I can't say that I don't have a little regret that Olave's just kind of taking a next step and is getting damn near close to Nabers, at least in production.
I mean, I can feel it. But if we're looking at Malik Nabers, I think one of the things that is on his side is his age. 22 years old, massive advantage. We've seen guys his age bounce back fairly quickly. Still got, young connective tissue, faster, stronger going on in there, I feel like. And
you have to look at too. They just got John Harbaugh, right? Like, he's now got Jackson Dart throwing him the ball, and they just have one of the better offensive minds in regards to rather than what they had before. So you got to feel good at least about the Giants' offense next year.
And he's on quote for saying, "If my body doesn't feel right, then I'm not going to be out there." But If I'm looking at, is he someone that you can see started on pup? And we'll head to our next candidate here on Ice Up. But could you see him starting on pup?
Yeah, absolutely. I think because of the meniscal repair, that just sets the timeline back. And so, he was kind of borderline going to start week 1. And I think it just, to feel safe about your Malik Nabers shares, expect that he's not going to be back until week 4 at least.
But do you feel like he's going to be like Malik Nabers, or is he going to be like 60% of himself, 70% of himself for all of 2026? Should you just basically treat him as a 2027 asset where you're going to feel like you're going to get like the full Malik Nabers experience and maybe not in all of 2026?
I mean, I think towards the end of the season, specifically for the fantasy playoffs, he'll probably kind of get closer to form of where he should be.
Yeah, I say if I had to put a guess on it, I say he probably ends up being roughly in that range of, let's go with wide receiver 12 to 18 finish. I think really realistically with how the injury is looking. Jamie says, can you see a world where Nabers, Chase, Puka, JSN, and Jeremiah Smith are all top 5 dynasty wide receivers for years? I mean, what? Chase is already there. I think he's one of the best prospects I've ever seen as a college prospect, and we've seen that in the NFL. JSN is coming into his very own. Got to see what the quarterback situation goes for long-time purposes. And then Jeremiah Smith, some would consider is the best prospect they've seen from a wide receiver from college since Chase. So who does he go to? Who picks him up? We got to see on that, but he is the consensus 101 for the 2027 draft. We think he's going to come out for him most likely. So, yeah.
I got a question. Do you think Jeremiah Smith is going to be the 101, or will Arch Manning be the 101 in super flex leagues if he continues the ascent like he did at the back half of 2025? I know this is a little bit off of injury, but I just that question popped because it seems like his value is like skyrocketing since the end of the season.
I think Arch Manning at this point has probably climbed to consensus 102, or basically 102, 103 for Devy. So there's easily a world where next year we're talking about basically being a coin flip.
And while what up, Chef? While we get to the rest of these comments, I think, and Jamie says, give me Smith over Arch, of course. I think Arch is going to take a big step with Cam Coleman going out over to Texas, but I think it should be a fun one. Chef goes, fellas, what do y'all think y'all should do with Jamar Chase? Should you trade him for a 2027 101? I'm holding on to Chase, at this point, but you never know. It depends on how you feel about Smith, Jeremiah Smith, and him as a prospect. Does you think he's going to be get into a better situation? We don't know if Joe Burrow is going to be the quarterback for the Bengals. So it is a good question to throw out, though. 100%. And then looking into getting into our next candidate. And I wanted to stay on the wide receivers and someone who's been talked about the last couple of days, actually, Travis Hunter, who most likely let down a lot of fantasy owners this past season and was overly drafted from what realistically we thought he was going to get. He did not tear his ACL. He tore his LCL. A lot better type of situation. He did that on October 30th. It was in a practice injury, so non-contact. Once again, he's 22. He had the surgery on November 11th. It looks like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, this looks to be roughly around like a 6-month type of recovery. Would you agree with that one? How do you feel about Travis Hunter going into 2026?
Yeah, so, like you said, the injury happened in October. I agree, a 4 to 6 month recovery to be really close to 100%. And so that basically takes him around OTAs going in the spring, and then I think he'll be 100% by training camp. So there's no worries with Travis Hunter. It's just, at that point, what does it turn into him splitting his time between offense and defense?
And what are the negative ramifications that we can see from this injury? Do you see him being able? And he was one of the guys who was explosive. Do you see him getting back to that? Do you think it'll take some time for him to kind of get back to himself? Since this is not theoretically a ACL injury, so it's not as major. Can he bounce back even quicker?
I have no concerns for his 2026 season as far as on the offensive side of the ball.
And hopefully he keeps playing wide receiver. We've heard that from Leo Cohen, he's going to be still on defense and offense. That's what I wanted to hear as someone who needed him as wide receiver, or I am screwed fucked in every single way, shape, or form. Rocco, how you
got you got a lot of Hunter or what?
I have a few shares.
I have one share, man. I just want him to come out early next season and kick ass and create that buying opportunity, or that selling opportunity, I should say. And I am ready to get out of the Travis Hunter business. I don't like being worried about him getting injured on defense. I don't like the idea of him playing a whole game. He got injured in practice. But, I mean, the more snaps you play, the more you put yourself out there to get injured. And I got one share because I wanted one share, and I regret that one. That one Travis Hunter I have on the team, it did me no good. So I'm ready to get out.
Jamie hit one of the things on the head, though. I think if you still believe in Travis Hunter, this is the time now to go ahead and acquire him for, honestly, maybe pennies on the dollar, where you would have had to come out of your pocket a little bit more before the injury. And if we're going to keep it a buck, a whole honest with you, he was looking good before he get that last game before he injured himself. Week 7, he went for 8 catches, 104 yards, 1 touchdown against the Rams. Not as Rocco likes to use, a Mickey Mouse team. And looking at his usage though, he saw 324 offensive snaps, 162 defensive snaps. So that turns out to be 67% on offense, 36% on defense. I'm not saying I'm go out, throw your draft picks, all that Travis Hunter. But hopefully, and we got to see how they figure it out with BTJ, Jacoby Myers, Parker Washington now coming to his own. How much piece of the pie? They still got Brendan Strange. They still want to keep Travis Etienne still involved. How much piece of the pie is going to be for Travis Hunter to still keep fantasy type of value? Especially when you drafted him at.
Seemed like that team played a lot better. What's up, Shifu? Seems like that team played a lot better once they got Jacoby Myers. Like you said, Parker Washington took a step. Brenton Strange came back. And they still have Brian Thomas Jr. I have a hot take on Brian Thomas Jr., and I'll save that for another day.
I want to hear it.
You want to hear it? I don't want to take up too much time with the injury podcast, but
I'm here all night, guys.
You know the perfect landing spot for Brian Thomas Jr. should he be made available, and I can absolutely see this should happen because the GM of this team is fucking nuts. You talk about fuck them picks. This mother son of a bitch fucked us with so many picks to the fucking Philadelphia Eagles. This dude is like, Eagles, they're good. Let me send all my first to these assholes. Sent all of our first for jobbers, for, whack-ass fucking players. And he's feeling himself right now. He's got a quarterback. He had, the best draft that this team's had since the Alvin Kamara draft. So, obviously, you know who I'm talking about. Mickey fucking Loomis is feeling himself in ways that you wouldn't believe right now. And if the Saints want to spend that first round pick on a wide receiver, I can tell you right now, Brian Thomas is better than any fucking wide receiver in this draft. And I believe that Mickey Loomis feels the same way. And if it's Carnell Tate or sending our first to the Jaguars for Brian Thomas Jr., I know what our reckless GM is going to do. It doesn't matter if he's bidding against himself because everybody else is offering seconds. He's going to send the Saints' first-round pick for Brian Thomas Jr. to pair with Chris Olave for a top 12 quarterback in this league, Tyler Shuck, and it's going to be fucking fireworks.
Fireworks at all. And let's continue on the wide receiver talk, actually.
All right, I didn't mean to steal your thunder, but this idea has wormed itself into my head, and I can see it happening now.
That's someone who also had fireworks in their knee exploded. By the way, Tyreek Hill obliterated. No type of parental advisory on that injury on NFL broadcast at all. That injury very much, I won't say crippled me in last year, but it put me in a bad position as somebody who was still holding on to the Tyreek Hill fandom, to the Tyreek Hill train.
Told you about that shit.
I thought he could still be wide receiver one. I still thought even over at 30-something, he could still be some type of someone in that top 10, but ended up tearing his knee up. If I'm looking at it correctly, he injured his knee in October of 2025, had surgery in November. What timeline are we still looking with for Tyreek Hill? It was a pretty gruesome injury, multiple ligament bends. So, do we ever see Tyreek Hill being back as the same guy?
So as far as the time where he actually hurt it, it's actually September 29th against the Jets. And it was a gruesome injury, right? Like we're talking almost Tank Dell, or basically Tank Dell level injury to his knee. Mm-hmm. Dislocated his knee, tore multiple ligaments. I mean, and you saw it live. Like his leg was physically dislocated where you could see it on television. It was gruesome. But at the same time, it's a possibility that he could be back. Very similar timeline as Malik Nabers, first quarter of the season or not too long after that. What does that mean for a 30-year-old something wide receiver who's, really not, it's kind of disgruntled with the organization? I don't exactly know Tyreek Hill's future with the Dolphins, but it's an injury that, you asked me if Malik Nabers will get to form by a certain point. I don't know if Tyreek Hill will. We're going to probably be playing a very much a Chris Godwin game of like, he's not going to really even show anything until the last quarter of the season, maybe.
Yeah, with that one, I'm keeping it very much eyes on it. And he's already pretty low, I would say, in ADP for the 2026 year. He was already, if you think about it, even before the injury, you were trying to figure out if he was even in the Miami Dolphins' plans for 2026 outside of the football field. So, the outside with the injury, what is there for Tyreek? What if he just wakes up one day and is like, know what? I'm ready to retire. So I've tried to get out on all my Tyreek Hill shares. I think I still have one or two. It makes me sad to even say that because I love me some Tyreek Hill. Now, Chef says, where do you have Benny McBoner in your kicker only super flex rankings? That's make what make
is Benny McBoner a real person? And if he is, I need a roster.
I'm trying to understand this question.
Hey man,
it goes with Dicker the kicker.
Dicker the kicker.
Man, all I want to say, moving along until we get some clarification from my man Chef, is I tried to tell you about Tyreek. It was over before he obliterated his knee and did, everybody's favorite, new celebration. I don't know what it's about. It's like the elephant.
Yeah, man.
That's what his leg. Yeah, that's what his leg did. It was all over the place. Mm-hmm. But before he injured himself, he was already on the Antonio Brown trajectory just with some of the stuff that's been coming out. So I've been off for a while. I actually picked him up off of waivers. Somebody actually dropped
I
his
saw
ass.
that. Yes.
So hopefully he doesn't his actions don't taint the rest of those guys on my team. But I've been out of the Tyreek Hill business. I don't think I'll ever be back in the Tyreek business, because the one thing that separated him from everybody else in the league was that unbelievable unmatched speed. And if he loses even a little bit of that, I worry about him being a functional receiver in the league.
Hey, it's going to be a wait and see type of game with him. Somebody that we didn't have to wait and see, as he kind of came back almost to his pre-injury self, aka Mr. Christian Watson himself for the Green Bay Packers. He basically made Matthew Golden an afterthought, their first rounder. Ben, tell us how first off, him coming back from his injury, which I believe took him only about 10 months, right? And now for him to step back on the field and produce, is Christian Watson someone the audience should be believing in again and acquiring?
Christian Watson might have been one of my biggest wins from last offseason. From actually an episode of the Dynasty Gambit, we were talking about how Christian Watson may be the perfect player to buy into for fourth or a late third, right? That he could sit on your IR for a while, and basically when he's ready to go, pop him back in your lineup. I was starting him in so many leagues because I had just stashed as many Christian Watson as I could while people were out on him. And man, it felt so good to be popping him in on playoff lineups. And he got me to the point of like semifinals and finals. And it's just like Christian Watson is a dude everybody had left for dead. I remember picking him up off season for like 19th round or 20th round startup pick. It's crazy, man. Just these are the guys that you don't want to give up on completely, because when they pop, it's hopefully he has the whole hamstring thing figured out. Because to me, that's where I was the most concerned. The stuff during the season, chest, concussion, all of that is short term. But the hamstring stuff is the stuff that's held him back most of his career. And I think we're in like year 3, year 4 now. And if he's past it, and of course he had the ACL that was very just worst timing you could have for that. But I'm excited about Christian Watson moving forward. And I think he fits in as a pretty decent wide receiver 3 with wide receiver 2 upside on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, just imagine how awesome the Packers are going to be when Tucker Kraft comes back. I mean, the Packers may win a lot of games because that offense is going to be so awesome. You got Watson, you got Tucker Kraft, you still got Jaden Reed. Depending on what you can get out of a Matthew Golden, baby helmet is still there. Man, those Packers are so awesome. I'm just trolling.
I was about to say, you're gonna make a Detroit Lions fan try to hype up the Packers. Now,
it sucks, guys, because it sucks for me to root for that. But at the same time, look at Chris in here, because Chris is one of the biggest Christian Watson deniers, Devy Shifu, and he turned from a hater to a believer. So if anybody can do it, Chris and I can turn around.
Are we sending out seconds for Christian Watson? I don't think I'm there for a first with Christian Watson.
You may have to send out
second for sure, but I think 2 seconds at most for me.
I haven't got myself into the territory of that first one, of being able to.
I give up a late 26 first if I had it for him.
I don't think I'm
enough.
You knew it was the 112? I think that's pretty safe, man. I think that's pretty good. I don't know, just anything. Because we were having a discussion on this in our server of like, what does each pick equal to you in a vet, right? And I mean, we had basically kind of brought it down to like Luther Burden is like a 106 to 108 based off what we think that value is. But I think Christian Watson is probably, again, between a second, 2 seconds, and a late first if you're really feeling it.
Is Golden going to be a bust like Burks? I would say, I hope not. No, if I think if they're able to get things going, get things flowing his way, maybe we got to see what they do with Romeo Dobbs, how they feel about him going into next year. Uh, I don't want to give up on Matthew Golden yet. As Devy says, Shifu Golden was dead before the draft. He's dead now. Hey, I know people are ready to jump off a ship. I know. What was you gonna say, Rocco?
Oh, I said, he ran a fast 40, but his production profile is super duper limited. He looked like he could be fun in the playoff game. He got some opportunities and scored his first touchdown the whole fucking year. Which I was starting him in one league to start the year, and that didn't turn out too good. But I just don't see the opportunity there. I mean, you got Christian Watson and Tucker Kraft, who look like the top two options on that team, and they still have other tertiary options. They got if they bring back Dobbs, that's going to be pretty much the death knell for Golden. But they also have Wicks, who has his moments. So it's like, where are the targets going to actually come from outside of injury? I mean, maybe he has some moments early on in the season. If Tucker Kraft, well, we're gonna get the Tucker Kraft. So let's move on. I don't want to spoil the Tucker Kraft talk.
Yeah, we'll get to tight ends here in a bit, but we're gonna take a quick break to talk about league champ. I got my league champ jersey that I won once again. Go George Pickens, go Cowboys. Rocco got his Puka Nacua.
Yeah. I hope he's not a Nazi. He's just dumb as fuck. That's what I'm going to believe.
That's a bar. I love that comment. So we're going to be just on that note. We're going to head to league chat where you can win a free NFL jersey by being the number one ranker as the first winner and the other co-host of Dynasty Gambit. Austin got his first dub of the season.
Dynasty Gambit is undefeated right now. We're 2-0. So I'm going to come back in the divisional round and get myself the Nico jersey I wanted too.
Hey, I love it.
2-0 in the last 2 weeks. We're not talking about all of the rest of the weeks where I'm a five-time champion. Five-time champion.
And just like that, this is League Champ where you can win a free jersey. We'll be right back. And we are back, and we are breaking down the pass catchers from 2025 on our first episode of Ice Up. Shifu, Rocco really does deserve flowers, though. 5-time is a baller. Yes, and don't hype his head up too much. We're not going to hear the end of it, man. Don't do it. I'm totally kidding. Yeah, listen. When Rocco wins, fourth in fantasy wins. When I win, fourth in fantasy wins. And we're going to try to continue. Listen, we still got so much. We still got more, about a couple weeks of fantasy left, or NFL playoffs left. Hopefully, we can win these last couple weeks.
Hey, this team is the Tom Brady of league champ. That's all I got to say.
Stop playing with us. Hell yeah. Now,
I'm Peyton Manning. I got to win one more.
Listen, if I haven't had the best success over the last couple of weeks, hopefully we can change that around. But I think we have a few more wide receivers that we can talk about before we get to the tight ends. Another guy who started off hot, but he quickly turned people cold. And I'm happy I capitalized on him when he was going off. Who am I talking about? Roma Dunze himself. I know he's battled injuries throughout 2025. I ended up actually selling him for a early first, a late first, and I got Michael Pittman on top of him. Or pause, on top of that. or to get Roma Dunze. I think that I
Definitely had
smashed
a
that
bottom.
one. I was super happy to get that. Ben, what's going on with Roma Dunze? Is he someone who you still should have some hope for? I know he battled
Yes.
some lingering issues, nothing too big. So I think he might potentially have a stress fracture. No?
Yeah. So, first of all, Roma Dunze is one of my favorite, wide receivers that still has yet to really, really break out, right? Because he was basically like at one point through the first couple of weeks of the season, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 4 of the season. And the talent is there. But what was holding him back all season is, and a good portion of the season, was the stress fracture in his foot. And so I do think this offseason he gets the rehab he needs, gets time, and heals it up, and he's ready for the 2026 season. Now, I know somebody in this podcast has Luther Burden as their wide receiver 1 of the Bears, but I vehemently am against that, and it is Roma Dunze for me.
Hey man, look like you're talking about Rocco over there. So speak on it, Rock.
Hey, I mean, this is what I will say about it is, those outside clashers, they're a dying breed. One of the last of the known universe. Mike Evans, he's going out to pasture. There's a couple other guys, but those guys have to be special. And Romo Dunze hasn't proven to me that he's special. He started off hot, was nice. I was ready to capitulate, and then it fucking fell off of a cliff, as I should have known it would. So next year's going to be his third. Well, I mean, he did squat in the playoff game, so he has another playoff game to step into the spotlight. Let's see if he can do it. If not, next year's his third year. At what point does he have to string together an elite season for us to keep him on the pedestal that he was? I know that Luther Burden was flashing all over the place. Basically every time he touched the ball. I mean, he's goddamn near 3 yards per route run. So, Luther Burden to me, he just looks like he's going to be a target earner in the league. He's efficient with his touches. He's one of the best guys in the league already at making something happen, after the catch, making defenders miss in space. And that's the kind of guy I want to invest in. In a Ben Johnson offense, I feel like he's just going to be a massive target earner. Especially once DJ Moore is, sent on his keister, because I think, especially early in the season when those guys operate in some of the same areas of the field. But if it's not Luther Burden, then it's going to be Colston Loveland, because that is a guy that I will capitulate on, because I liked him as a prospect, and then he landed on the Bears, and I was a little nervous about the situation. I'll also capitulate on Caleb Williams. He's pretty fucking good, but I'm not ready to do the same for Odunze. You need to show me a little more, and you're in the league 2 years now.
Hey, I like it. I like it all. And once again, I capitalize on Roma Dunze and getting the hell up out of there. So we see Colston Loveland breaking out. Maybe we see Roma Dunze finally break out himself later on. So I won't shoot him too bad. Shifu, Burden for sure has changed my mind a bit. I'm still massively in on Loveland too, as you should be. We still have, I would say we got 2 more guys, but we could potentially end the wide receivers on this guy. Because
I mean, that's
go ahead.
one last point. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I started off the process with Loveland as my tight end 1. I got talked into Warren a bit. And then Loveland landed where he landed. But Loveland is he the tight end 3 already? I mean, I can easily be talked into it at this point.
We got Bowers, we got Trey McBride.
I mean, he's, another season like he had in the second half of this one, and we're probably talking about him in the McBride-Bowers territory.
I wouldn't be if he gives us another season. I wouldn't.
I still got another guy we're going to talk about ahead of him.
Oh yeah, good. Hit us with it, Ben.
Are we just going to go there?
Actually, let's end the wide receivers off with this last guy here.
Yeah.
I know.
Let's go ahead.
I know Rocco was very, very, very big on this said player. Brandon Ayuk, who most likely 95%, 96%, 97%, 98% is getting the hell up out of San Fran. He's burnt every bridge possible. Even London Bridge is falling down. It's not cool. And some people might say it's the quickest way to butcher your own NFL career. I know he did not play at all in 2025. For 2026, how are you feeling about Brandon Ayuk, Ben? Should owners feel okay about his injury for him producing for a new team?
So a couple of things about Brandon Ayuk is that, at this point with the timeline of recovery, there should be no excuses for him to jump in to 2026 and produce if he is the dude, right? Mm-hmm. But there's a couple of things. Like, one, what team is going to sign him? What situation is going to end up in? And then to add, from my perspective of being a PT, when somebody is out for so long out of the game and not participating in the sport, to keep themselves up physically, like he had to go through rehab and then ultimately get to the point where he was good enough to be able to return back to an NFL game. And then possibly has the opportunity where if he's not keeping up with his rehab and not keeping up with his strength, he could possibly tear the other side because poor conditioning leads to that. And there's a higher risk of that on the other side, right? When we're talking about getting back to really return to play and all of that. So
yeah,
I'm very cautious right now with Brandon Ayuk and just making sure that we're not buying him too high, right? I would not be spending a second at this point on Brandon Ayuk.
And with him, he'll be 28 at the start of the 2026 season. And for someone who, once again, hasn't played since 2024, damn near voided all his 2026 guarantees, aka Mr. Crash Out himself, DK Metcalf. I feel like just players love to lose themselves some money. He's not getting any younger. He's losing value in Dynasty. And you're moving away from Kyle Shanahan, who's one of the better creative minds and was putting you in position to excel. I don't know what is in for Brandon Ayuk, but I know I don't have any parts of it. Shout out to that. Brandon Ayuk, ice up, son. And we'll see you in 2026.
Yeah, I got so much fucking Ayuk. That was a big swing and a miss, kind of like Kenneth Walker the third. Even though I don't really blame him 100%, I think some of that was situation based. But man, at this point, we got to say that Brandon Ayuk is on that Antonio Brown trajectory, just like if I say it about Tyreek Hill, I got to say it about the guys I like. And right now, he is fucking crashing out. I don't know if this is all just to get out of the contract, but I mean, he should have been back at least by mid-season. We don't know if he's keeping up with his training, like Ben talked about, which can lead to compensation injuries. I mean, there's reports all over the place about him just being crazy in public. He's racing past the stadium 100 miles per hour on, I guess that's, that's got to be like a 30 mile per hour zone. And he hasn't played. So yeah, I'm super nervous about all of my Brandon Ayuk shares. I mean, they can turn to zero super fast, faster than some of those fucking weed stocks that I got back in the day. So hopefully he gets on the right team. But I mean, could we be looking at another Deontay Johnson who just gets blackballed out of the league because of his fucking attitude? We could be getting that. We could be getting close to it.
I'm right there with you, Rod. That's a situation that we will have to monitor. But let's also get into, I know we talked about wide receivers, but there's also some tight ends that fucked their shit up in 2025, to say the least. And let's get
some tight ends.
somebody who just did it in a playoff game at that. I know his name been swirling in the streets. George Kittle. Ben, help us feel better, man. He's on the wrong side of 30. For all the George Kittle owners out there for 2026, will he even play?
So you want to come to me for good news, but this is probably the most bleak news that I could give out of all the players we're going to talk about. And that is that I don't think that George Kittle possibly even steps onto a football field, non-playoff game, right? That like regular season, he doesn't touch a football field for 2026. And so, an Achilles, we hope towards the end of the season that maybe he does, but this is bad. This is down bad. Like Aaron Rodgers, that was incredible what he did at his age, right? But like, if you put that timeline on George Kittle, that's basically taking it to end of the season, right? You're talking basically December football. And by that point, is he even going to be the George Kittle we know? I'm not feeling confident about it right now. But I do think that he returns back 2027. I don't think that he is going to retire. He seems to be very positive about going forward.
Yeah, I don't see him retiring. And, with guys on the other side, there's been seen about 20% of those guys end up returning back to elite form. It is George Kittle, a badass mofo, as we all know him to be. So if there's anybody who I think could come back from this, it would be George Kittle. But with those Achilles injuries, you lose explosiveness, right? And for somebody who Yak was a lot of his game, you're going to need every bit of explosiveness possible. It does help that you have Kyle Shanahan, so he can scheme you. But I'm sad. I did not want George Kittle was not somebody, especially when I made the push to go trade for him before fantasy started. I traded after thinking that he was going to be a good push for the playoffs. This probably was worst case scenario. I won't say this is career ending. Far from that. I don't think that's in his nature. But I'm most likely pushing for what Ben just said. He returns in 2027 at the age of like 33. He gives you some type of tight end to flex appeal, but his overall value has for sure diminished over the time, and he'll be even more older. Rocco, do you still believe in Kittle going forward?
No, I don't actually. Have we seen? I know there's been some running backs. Aaron Rodgers had the Achilles injury, but have we seen it? Have we seen any kind of test case for tight ends with the Achilles injuries?
So here's the thing with Aaron Rodgers, right? Is that Aaron Rodgers plays the position of quarterback. So for the most part, he is not subjecting himself to the level of stress that George Kittle is at the tight end position. And we have never seen a running back over the age of 30 come back from this. And you don't see this injury in wide receivers because of the nature of the sport. But man, this is really bad for George Kittle. Like I genuinely, really, really would love to see him come back in 2027. But we don't really have any information of this in tight ends. And then to add on to that, a non-quarterback position that could be able to make it past the age of 30.
Yeah, and Travis Kelce's 36. Tony Gonzalez retired at 36. So if he comes back in 27, I believe he'll be 33. So maybe we get a couple more years out of him. But what kind of George Kittle do we get? I think is the question. I may send out a third for him and just park him on IR and just kind of see, especially if I can get it for a 26 third. Yeah.
So I was just offered the 206 from somebody for George Kittle on a team, and Oh God, I know, but I
Smash.
couldn't because I have to go back and now I have to ask this guy for the 206 if that's where everybody's at because
Take it.
it hurts so bad.
I would have
Yeah.
I would have saw the 206 and said you can have them at that point. I'm trying to get out now.
Yeah, I got a couple. I both traded and avoided a trade for George Kittle. I traded, I want to say, Kittle and Dak, and I got Garrett Wilson and Tucker Kraft back, and I'm feeling a lot better about that one
Mm.
than I did at the time of the trade. It's it's going to be like a kind of a reloading / rebuilding type of team. So yeah, I got out of the Kittle business just in the nick of time, and I also avoided. And I was really thinking about this trade for a few days. Somebody offered it right before the semis because I thought maybe it would get me a championship. But somebody offered me George Kittle for Arondé Gadsden straight up. And I'm fucking glad I didn't take that because, yeah, that is, I mean, George Kittle is like, you know, I love his spirit, and if anybody can come back from it, he can. But to wait an entire 2 off seasons for him to maybe give us 70% of what he once was, I don't know. I'd rather be investing in young tight ends and hoping they break out.
Another tight end on the talk for that got injured during the season and was having, I would say, a breakout elite season too. Tucker Kraft, Green Bay Packers tight end, tore his ACL. If I see another headline of a player tearing their ACL, I might just crash out my damn self. But still a prime age, being 24, 25-ish, I believe. And I'm not sure when he had the surgery. If I'm looking at it, I believe he got hurt week 9, November 2nd. So it was a clean ACL tear from trying to block. Major, they're saying some have concern about him being available for week 1. Ben, do you have any, or what are your, I guess, concerns about Tucker Kraft in 2026? Can he be ready by week 1, or is this something that is going to take time to get back to that elite form that he was showing?
Yeah, so actually Tucker Kraft, out of all of the players we've talked about tonight, and all the serious ones that are going to take them into the 2026 season, I actually feel the best about Tucker Kraft out of all of them because as far as like Patrick Mahomes, if you go back to his injury with his ACL, it was pretty immediate and almost never makes the news unless it's a Patrick Mahomes type if they have immediate surgery, whereas with I believe I want to say it was Rishi Rice, it took a month and you saw in the news like, hey, they finally got their surgery a month later. Like Malik Nabers, it was October, late October, and so gave people an idea of where that was going. Tucker Kraft was likely to have surgery basically within that same week. And where the timeline ends up is that at 10 months, you can comfortably say that a player is going to be able to return to the field. And that basically takes us to just before week 1 of the 2026 season for Tucker Kraft. September 2nd would be exactly 10 months. And so I feel very confident that Tucker Kraft is going to be able to start for the Packers week 1. Now, what Tucker Kraft did we see? I think he's going to be fine. Give him a couple weeks at least. But when we were talking about the top 3 tight ends, I can't put Colston Loveland there because for me, it's Tucker Kraft as the tight end 3 in Dynasty.
Rocco, I know you loved you some Tucker Kraft before the injury happened. Are you still trying to wine and dine and get yourself some Tucker Kraft in 2026? Are we still sending out, or is Tucker Kraft still worth a first rounder?
You fucking well right he is.
You goddamn straight, baby.
Like what he showed me before he got injured for the Green Bay Packers is that he absolutely could ascend to the Brock Bowers Trey McBride stratosphere. Given the targets, if he got the targets, which he was getting somewhat, it's Green Bay Packers still have a weird way about how they go about divvying up their targets. They're very, I want to say, game plan dependent.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you get those weird dupes game, which get that fucker off the team. I know he's a solid receiver, but all he does is mess up with the target pie for everybody else when he pops off. But yeah, if you roll into 2026 with Tucker Kraft and Christian Watson, you have two fucking aces on your team. And Jordan Love has shown himself, even in the playoff game, he showed himself to be, a bit of a gunslinger. And if we can get that Jordan Love for 16 games with a healthy Tucker Kraft, a healthy Christian Watson, that's going to be a very explosive offense. So fuck yeah, I would give up a first. I'd rather give up a late first for him.
Okay.
2026, because I just think he's that much better than basically anybody in the second half of the 2026 draft. But hell yeah, I'd give up a first for him. I think right now is the time to buy on him because people have not had him all season. He's been sitting on IR, and they may be thinking to themselves, hey, I mean, he might start on PUP. Let me just kind of re-roll with him. But like Ben said, this guy is going to be ready for week one. And even if he's not, if I can get the second half, Tucker Kraft, the continued ascent of Tucker Kraft that we got in the first few games of 2025, he's a fucking league winner. So, you need to stack up as many of those guys as possible to win championships. And I'd feel very confident with him as my tight end one.
And Ben and Rocco, let's continue on young tight ends, right? And where I'm going with this one is people deemed him a top 5 tight end before I really thought he was a top 5 tight end. He might have had a good rookie year, but I still didn't consider him a top 5 tight end. But he was being drafted as such. Who am I talking about? Sam Laporta, Detroit Lions tight end. And who's better than a Detroit Lions fan to talk about Sam Laporta, where I know he had a back injury, but it wasn't much. I felt like it was kept a little hush-hush about the severity of what really was going on with him and why he was being held out for the rest of the year. Ben, could you drop a little bit of knowledge for us of what is going on with Sam Laporta and what are the long-term prognosis of him?
Yeah, so this is something that I have to go back to my knowledge base on injuries and what these injuries mean for football. Mm-hmm. And so Sam Laporta suffered a herniated disc basically towards the end of the last couple of games for the Lions. Well, actually, no. I think at least it was probably week 13, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. And ends up on the IR and finishes the season not being able to return. And to me, this is probably just a sign of concern for the future that he could possibly re-aggravate and herniate the disc further, just end up, being kind of on and off the field with back issues throughout his career. But, to me, when I'm looking at it, we talked about the whole top 5 thing. He's not close to the top 5 anymore, even as a Detroit Lions fan, because now we just talked about Colston Loveland and Tyler Ward coming into the league. He's starting to get pushed down. And, to me, I think if you were somebody that bought him for a couple of firsts when he was really popping, it's he's not going to be worth that again to me. There's just no way about that, even in full point tight end premium.
Yeah, his value is done.
Yeah, to me, he's just a jag. He's an unexciting white like Jake Ferguson, man. You should have sold a little bit sooner. Is what you should have did. You fucked up. You held too long, and now you're left holding the bag because you're never gonna get what you could have got after his rookie season. It's done. It's Jova.
I think some people will say you try to hold on to him just because he's still young. You would say he's still an elite offense. So, well, unless they do some stupid shit like hire Arthur Smith or something like that, and piss me off today. But so for Sam Laporta owners, is it over? Well, I wouldn't say over. Can Sam Laporta reconquer his rookie status, his rookie form, if you will, and be back as a valuable piece in the Detroit Lions offense?
I think he can, as far as like be still a strong part of the offense, but I don't see him being a top 5 talent at the tight end position, if that makes sense, right? I still see him being, late tight end 1, like between tight end 8 and tight end 10, right?
Yeah.
But I don't see him being what Colston Loveland, what Tucker Kraft, any of those guys are, because I just think they play differently, right? And Sam Laporta can catch the ball very well, but I don't know. Like Rocco said, I don't want to admit it, but he just feels like a jag.
I'm gonna tell you the biggest problem for Sam Laporta was the emergence of J-Mo. Like, he was blowing up all over the place before J-Mo really emerged as the second guy on that team.
Mm-hmm.
But now you got a strong running game. You got the Sun God who's going to get his 140, 160 targets. You got J-Mo who's earned, a role as, one of the best number 2s in the league. If he's not there, I think he can get there if they keep using him like they did last year on those unstoppable crossing routes. And you got Tesla, who really who had some real moments for that team. So just where are the targets that are going to get him to a top 5 status going to come from? I just don't see it. I think he's
let me play devil's advocate here, though.
First replaceable. Go ahead.
Because let's say it depends on who all they bring in as an OC. Because I mean, you just brought up Arthur Smith, but let's say they bring in somebody like Mike McDaniels. Exactly, who we saw a couple of years ago made Jonnu Smith the tight end 2 in fantasy. And it's like they had Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane. Like, you saw similar weapons as far as the level of weapon, but they made Jonnu Smith the tight end 2. And, Jonnu Smith is a jag, right? As far as career long, like, he had a top 5 tight end sit. So, but like, could that be Sam Laporta in another couple of years? That's why I'm saying, like, I'm not writing him off, but at the same time, talent-wise, I don't think he's with the other 5 the top 5 that we're talking about.
Yeah.
This is the difference. Jonnu Smith is an elite athlete, and I haven't looked yet, but I'm gonna venture a guess that Sam Laporta is not.
I'll give him. Sam Laporta is a decent athlete.
95th percentile, but I am looking it up with my trusty computer.
He's a decent athlete. It's what people gave Michael Mayer gripe for. When he was coming out, he's not the greatest of that. He's not the high athletic guy.
Yeah, made a liar out of me. He's a good athlete. Disregard all of that. So yeah, they're like the same guy, Jonnu Smith and Sam Laporta.
Right, man, I absolutely love that.
All right, you know what? That sounds like it's gonna be a season-long bet. Like next year, if they all right, let's say if they get Mike McDaniel, then we'll put that bet up. George Kittle, comp, let's go.
Hey.
Man, if you would have told me that without seeing this shit, I would have told you straight drugs. But I mean if the comp is screwing your fantasy team, then hey, I definitely see the resemblance for sure. But that has been our episode. Shifu had a quick question. We didn't.
Oh yeah. Chat. Give me Ben's take on Chris Bell's injury.
So, Chris Bell, guys, I actually had a little bit of personal investment in Chris Bell. I'm still a fan because I had him in actually the C2C league that Rocco and I were in last season. But man, he ended up suffering the ACL injury right before the end of the college season. And I'm pretty sure it was actually week 12 or somewhere involved in like the final weeks. And ACL tear. Basically, this guy was expected to be a day 2 pick in the draft, and now we're going to see him fall. My concern is going to be the draft cap, Chris, because as you know, when you're getting into those 3rd and 4th round wide receivers, it's less about it's just we'll see what opportunity he gets. But I do think Chris Bell is extremely talented. I love what he did at Louisville, but it's going to end up possibly like a Troy Franklin situation where we know it's an extremely talented guy, but getting that draft cap, the problem is he's not going to be able to really test the combine either based on age. So we'll see what happens, but I do love him as a prospect as far as what he did in college.
Mm-hmm.
So possibly somebody that you could buy low on.
I like me some Chris Bell. AJ Brown light, if you will. AJ Brown was definitely more talented as a prospect, but at 220 plus pounds and having the acceleration that Chris had, that's one thing I hope that he doesn't lose with the injury, and that I know it'll take time for him to get back to that explosiveness, but hopefully, he still is rumbling, stumbling, bumbling.
Man, that was a fucking awesome show. Thank you again, Ben, for coming on, man. It's always fucking fireworks when you're on. I just wanted to say for a second, man, I enjoyed you on Dynasty Gambit so much. It was a regular listen on my walks, at work, whatever. So it's kind of sad to see you, take a step back from it, at least the front-facing portion of the podcast. But I know you have some big things coming up. So why don't you let everybody know where they can find you, what you got coming up, what you want to announce, anything like that. Have at it.
So, Rocco, I appreciate the kind words. I honestly have enjoyed you guys as far as being colleagues and supporting our show. And for me, this isn't the end of the Dynasty Gambit. Austin is keeping it very well alive going forward, and he's got a lot of big plans for the show, and I'm, of course, always behind him in being still a co-founder and what we're doing with the show. But I've got a big future planned with some other stuff that I'm also working on independently, right? I just joined with, actually, the Devy Shifu, Chris, and the sensei who was in here earlier, Dustin, and our shinobi Josh. But we've got, and I'm the scribe. Basically, we've got a whole good roster of Devy at the Devy Dojo, and we're trying to provide you guys with, as much as we can. For me, writing has been a passion of mine, and it's really kind of stepped up for me in the last portion of the season that I really kind of discovered that. So that's where I really want to take my time and put that into. But we've got some big things planned. Chris, Dustin, and I are working on the 2026 rookie guide for FSAN, and we're excited to bring that out. Hopefully, at least parts of it in March. Right after the NFL draft, we're going to drop kind of the final piece of that. We're super excited about it. I'm also going to be continuing to write articles for them, continuing to write articles for the Gambit as well in ways, but this is very much like a fun evolution in my part of content creation. And I think we've got a lot of big things planned with Addy at League Champ too. So it's going to be a fun off season, and it's going to be fun going into 2026.
Hell yeah. Love to hear that, Ben. Once again, this has been another episode of Fourth and Fantasy, and once again, our first kickoff of the new series, Ice Up Volume 1, dropping Volume 2 fairly soon. When we figure out what position we want to cover. This week was pass catchers, the wide receivers, and tight ends, as we saw some major. You feel me? So
ball runners.
At Fourth and Fantasy, we still got more content to give you. we're not. I know the season's over, but we're not done yet. We still got more people to tap in with this off season, like the amazing person that you see in front of you, Ben here. Thank you as always for jumping on. Always appreciate your insight when it comes to players and these injuries that cost us our wonderful fantasy seasons at times. So appreciate you as always. Big shout out, y'all, and y'all know we are your fantasy playbook to more championship wins, even in the off season, baby. And Rocco, where are we the land of?
We are a fantasy football podcast for Dynasty Sickos. Sickos! Bye, Dynasty Sickos. Everybody's welcome.
Everyone's welcome, even the ones that's coughing on the plane. Take your ass and get your sicko ass in the Dynasty League so we can interact with you. Like, tap in with us. Find our link to our Discord in the YouTube description. You can also find us on TikTok. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Blue Sky. You can find us everywhere, man. We love talking football. We love hearing your insight. So much more to go. So much more content to give you all. Appreciate everybody that taps in with us. Till next time, this is Fourth and Fantasy, and this is League Champ, where you can win a free NFL jersey by being the #1 ranker of the week. As you see here, bread is in the pudding. George Pickens, Puka Nakua, Fourth and Fantasy, Dynasty Gambit, Devy Dojo, Ben McCown. We out. Y'all have a good night. Peace.